Research Institute. Dr. Sydney Pierce, a professor and biologist here, is currently doing research on sea slugs.
But these aren't just ordinary sea slugs. They move like leaves, look like leaves, and they even photosynthesize like leaves. Well, let's have Dr. Sydney Pierce explain it to us in greater detail.
Hi everybody, my name is Skip Pierce. I'm a professor in the Integrated Biology Department at the University of South Florida, and I'm delighted to talk to these people today about that.
Go.
Alright, so could you please explain your current research with the sea slugs?
Basically what we're working on is several species of sea slugs that are able to keep the chloroplasts out of the algae that they eat in cells of the slug. And so if you shine light on the sea slug like those guys over there, they photosynthesize just like a plant. So they fix carbon and they produce oxygen. And some of them can carry out their whole life cycle just by photosynthesis. And what we're working on is trying to figure out the mechanisms by which those slugs are able to do that.
Now, how did you become involved with this research?
But about 25 years or so ago, I was teaching a course up at the Marine Lab in Woods Hole in Massachusetts to a bunch of students from all over the country. And one of the things that the students did was they had to do a little research project. So we would send them out to the sea and say, go catch an animal and we'll figure out something to do with it. And a couple of the students in the class walked in with these sea slugs, which I had never seen before actually up there. And I said to them, well, why are they green? And nobody knew. So I said, well, let's figure out why they're green. And we found out about the chloroplast symbiosis, and really, since those students found that, I've been working on this project ever since.
What is your favorite and least favorite parts about researching these sea slugs?
Well, my least favorite parts about research in general are raising money. In order to do any sort of research, it's very expensive to do this stuff. And it's a real chore to have to raise the money to do it. So I really hate that. Grant proposals and all the politics associated with it, so on are a chore. My favorite parts are finding about stuff no one knows about. I mean, we discover brand new stuff every day.
Can you tell us more about the slugs themselves? How do they behave in a natural habitat?
Well, they're slugs, so they don't behave much at all. Right? That's why they call them slugs. Basically what most of this kind of slug does is spend its entire life crawling around the bottom of the ocean, eating algae, photosynthesizing, and reproducing.
And where do you get them? Where are they located?
Well, I and my students work on several species. The one that's here comes from a salt marsh on Martha's Vineyard up in Massachusetts. The ones that we use from Florida live in the Florida Keys, and so we go down there and collect them there.
So could you provide us with some background information about yourself?
For example?
Where did you go to school? What did you major in? How did you become involved in biology?
Okay, all right, slow down now. Actually, I went to school in Florida. I got my bachelor's degree at the University of Miami, and I got my PhD at Florida State hundreds of years ago. I forgot what you asked me, but I originally went to school to be a doctor, right? I was going to be a big pre-med guy, but I found out I was too stupid, so I couldn't do that. And also, that was back when the Vietnam War was going on, and I was really desperately trying to avoid getting drafted. So when I graduated from the University of Miami, I could avoid getting drafted by going to graduate school. So while it's not very a romantic story, I really went to graduate school so that I wouldn't go to Vietnam. But I was always sort of interested in marine biology, so that's what I did when I went to graduate school. And I sort of majored. Well, I majored in biology at the University of Miami, and I sort of majored in biochemistry, cell biology, physiology, and so on at Florida State. But the faculty at Florida State at the time had a lot of marine biologists there who were doing cell biology, biochemistry, and so on with marine animals. So that's pretty much what I did. And then after that, I got a job at the University of Maryland, and I was on the faculty at the University of Maryland for 30 years before I came here.
Wow. What did you teach?
Well, I taught a variety of things, mostly about marine organisms, physiology, biochemistry, some marine biology, and that type of thing. I eventually became the chairman of the biology department at the University of Maryland, and after that, I didn't teach much at all. And when I first came to USF, which was in 2000, I was department chair here for 7 years, which I quit doing, and now I'm teaching again, which I vastly prefer to all the administrative nonsense.
According to your USF page, you're involved in 2 other kinds of research.
Sea monsters, you mean?
Yes. Could you maybe tell us about that research?
Yes. It's sort of my hobby, sea monsters. And it's a long story about how I got into it. But occasionally, unidentifiable carcasses wash in on beaches at various places around the world. And pieces of those carcasses often wind up in my lab. They wash in and nobody knows what they are. And so as soon as that happens, all kinds of things get on the web and on TV and so on about aliens and various sorts of mythical monsters and so on that everybody imagines what they are. So they cut a piece of it off and send it to me and say, why don't you figure out what this is, which I do. And so far it always turns out to be an old, smelly, rotten whale.
Oh.
Sorry. I keep trying to make it come out to be a monster, but so far it hasn't.
What's been your most exciting or interesting discovery?
That the gigantic octopus that washed in on the beach up in St. Augustine in 1898 was really quick.
All right.
But let me go on, because I'm sort of teasing you a little bit. Really, I think our most important discovery was that these sea slugs, or at least some of them, some species of them, along from keeping the chloroplasts happy in there from the algae, do that because they have genes in them that they've stolen from the algae. So the sea slugs actually have algal nuclear genes inside the slug nucleus. I mean, that's the first time anybody's ever demonstrated the transfer of genes between 2 multicellular species. And really, that's the basis of genetic therapy, right? That's what they're trying to do with genetic therapy. Cure cancer by taking the gene that's not screwed up and sticking it into the cancer cell and fixing it. That's what the medics are trying to do. And so far it doesn't work very well. But these sea slugs already know how to do that. So down the road, if we're lucky, we'll understand the mechanism here, which then can be applied to medicine, which is really the importance these days of doing biology. I mean, the truth is, nobody really gives a damn why these sea slugs do what they do. I mean, why would you, right? They're a stupid sea slug. But if we can use their mechanisms to understand the cell biology behind that gene transfer and ultimately apply it to medicine, it'll be a great leap forward. That probably won't happen in my lifetime, but maybe.
It's a start.
Yeah. So I think that's probably the most significant thing that we found anyway.
All right, last week.
Yeah. Okay. Our project is revolving around USF as a research university, and so we were wondering what are the benefits for working here at a research university, and how has it influenced your project?
Well, it hasn't really influenced my project at all. Other than that, I have a place to do the project in. USF is a developing research university. I mean, I came from the University of Maryland, which is a very well-established, very mature, very well-respected university, to USF, which is sort of a like the Wild West back in the day, right, when the pioneers were getting there. I mean, USF is just trying to come to grips with how to be a research university. And so it's a very different sort of system that you have to operate in. USF doesn't always have the equipment that you need. It doesn't always have the faculty expertise that you need, but it's developing that with time. And to me, coming here as a department chair, I mean, I really came here to be a department chair, not to do research necessarily, because I can do the research that I do anywhere. But it was a building process, and that's what USF is doing, with more success or less, depending on the areas that you're looking at. But so it's a very different atmosphere from one of these already developed, highly respected places. USF is developing and is trying to become more respected, but it has ways to go.
Speak out the camera.
Hi, Megan.
Hello.
I'm C Slug,
Nice to meet you, Cecil.
and I have a quick question for you. How would you feel if USF found the cure to cancer?
I would feel really proud as a USF student that my school found the cure to cancer.
Do you think it's possible within the next 10 to 15 years?
I think anything's possible, really, with some hard work, and I think USF's a hard-working place.
Do you think the emphasis on the sciences at USF is going to help, move that along?
Definitely. Most definitely.
Hi, Sydney.
Hello.
I'm a C Slug.
Hello, Cecil.
Nice to meet you. I just have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
How would you feel if USF found the cure to cancer?
I guess happy
Why would you feel happy?
because they found a cure for disease like cancer. I mean, I'd be happy if any school found it, honestly.
Do you think the research opportunities at USF make it more probable that USF will possibly find a cure to cancer?
Yeah, actually one of my friends is doing research and he's actually working on a breast cancer right now. He said they found something interesting.
Did you know that Dr. Pierce, he researches sea slugs, and that through the research of sea slugs, that they're working on a cure to cancer?
That's interesting, I did not know that.
What's going on right here at USF? Excuse me, sir. Did you know that I'm wanted for kleptoplasty?
What's that?
I steal chloroplast from algae and use it for photosynthesis. Do you know what animal I am?
No.
Do you think I'm an animal?
No.
Think I'm a plant?
Possibly.
Well, I'm actually a sea slug.
That's pretty cool.
Photosynthesis!